Hi, I'm Joe Antonelli. I'm the assistant principal at Orange Grove High School.
Hi, I'm Teresa Vasquez. I'm a school counselor here at Orange Grove High School.
We're going to talk a little bit about an incident that happened recently at our school where we ended up employing restorative practices as a way of hopefully dealing with an issue that could have gone a number of ways. The backstory to the fight, I have to give a little background about Orange Grove. We are the continuation school in the Corona-Norco Unified School District, where students are sent primarily for behavioral issues. So we have students who are here on expulsion orders or involuntary transfers. The way our school works is after the second week of each quarter, if a student is sent to us from the district office, they end up in an alternative learning center, basically our independent study, and they're kind of sequestered from the rest of the student population for most of the day until the end of the quarter, and then they're integrated into the general population. This particular situation emanated from a group of kids who were in ALC who had not been with us for very long. They were all on expulsion contracts, and there was racially motivated talk going on in the classroom. Now, a little bit of the demographics of Orange Grove. We typically run about 80% male Latino. We run often 1 to 3% African American, and in this particular instance, we had a few of the new kids who are African American saying very vocally that they did not like Mexicans and starting to use all sorts of inventive racial epithets about Latinos, and needless to say, that did not go well in ALC with that population. This led to the day of the incident, a lot of charged hostilities with kids who really didn't know each other. And what ended up happening is we had a fight break out, and actually multiple fights happening simultaneously that involved about a dozen kids. And as we started to go through the video, fortunately, everybody was on camera, so we were able to really analyze and pick apart the level of involvement of the students. And we ended up with 10 kids who we realized these are our main players in the situation. We chose a restorative approach kind of as a Hail Mary pass because all of these students were on expulsion orders, which meant if we suspended them, our typical next step would be sending them to the county school, and we didn't really want to do that. We had no history with the kids. They had no time to learn what we do and experience our school and some of the protective factors that we put in place here, like our fantastic counselors. So that was the primary motivation. We did not feel that this went very deep. It was these kids didn't know each other's names, and so it was just basically annoying the crap out of each other led to, and using racially charged words led to this blow up. So that's a little bit of the background on why we went with restorative practices. We figured if we could keep even 8 of them from going to the county, it would be a major win. There's also a cost element to this. Every student we send to the county back bills us $17,000 a year as a district for each of those students. So if we had sent 10 students to the county, which by rights we could have, that would have been a cost of about $170,000 for the year to our district. So, and not that was the primary motivator, but that is something in the background that we are. And also, when we send kids to the county, we lose them. They often don't return. They don't complete their high school credits, and we no longer are able to help them out.
So can you describe what the process was like with the restorative circles? What did that look like?
Most of restorative practices is, in fact, over 80% is in the meetings before you get to the circle. And so the fight happened on a Friday. We notified all the parents that there would be a meeting on Monday, and I had every parent and student come in on Monday and meet with me in my office, and I explained we're going to do something to try to keep them at the school. And I went through explaining what the restorative practices look like. We were graciously given some space at the Parent Center, which is off campus, to hold meetings later on in the week. So Monday met with the parent and the student, and then on Thursday, there was a lot of work that went in between Monday and Thursday. We called in the cavalry. We had folks from our district office. We have an outside mentoring program called Rescue a Generation who had connected with some of these kids already. So we had them plan to come in on Friday for the actual circle when it happened. On Thursday, we did a restorative meeting with each child and their parent or guardian. And in that meeting, it was Teresa, me, the parent and the child, and we went through the restorative practices questions. And basically, we were using the parent as the person who had been harmed in the process. And when the student was forced to kind of answer some of those questions with their parent or guardian, we started to see some real remorse over. And maybe an acknowledgement of, oh, this was bigger than just me, and getting into a fight. Like my grandmother or my guardian was really affected by this, and they're afraid of losing me. They're afraid of me dying or going to jail, that kind of stuff. And that also was a litmus test for us to make sure that Friday we knew what those answers were going to be prior to asking the kids the questions.
What about you, Miss Vasquez?
No, I mean, having those meetings with the parents and the students, they were able to acknowledge, it's, my behavior, just not affected me, the student, but it also affected the staff, my parent, the parents, there were other students who were even afraid during the fight, and I know prior to Thursday, like when we met with the parents here on campus, we were able to, ask them like what would work best for them as well. Like, if they were able to meet with, the students, to have that restorative circle with the students as well that they were not in agreement with, who got into the fight, and we were able to make groups, like make circles, right? Mm-hmm. By meeting on Thursday with the parent and the student, we were able to see, okay, like after that meeting, Mr. Antonelli and I, we met and saw, okay, like for Friday, like which group of students will be able to be in that circle. And being a large number of students who were involved, we were able to see, okay, with this group of students, they'll be able to meet with the other students. So we had to do 2 circles. Correct?
Yeah. We were a little nervous that there was still enough anger, and in an ideal world, we probably would have pushed that final restorative conference maybe till the Monday following that week, just to give it a little bit more time to have some tension settle down. And what we were discussing on Thursday after meeting with all the kids and their parents was there was still some hostility, and so we chose 2 groups of 5 instead of 1 group of 10. And for the Friday conference, we also brought in some of the teachers who had been involved in the fight, security who had been involved in the fight. One of our security attendants was taken to the ground, and he's very well liked by our student population, and honestly, that was one of the biggest issues a lot of our kids on campus had was, hey, you guys knocked LB down. That was not right. So we got the kids in 2 separate groups on Friday and went through basically the restorative questions. We knew the first group was going to be rougher because a couple of the kids were they were feeling victimized. So even though they might have been the ones who had used the language in the first place that ignited the fight, it ended up being an unfair fight, like a 3-on-1, where a couple of these kids ended up on the ground being beaten up by multiple other students. So they were still a little angry, And that definitely came out in the meeting. And honestly, at one point during that first meeting, it was still so tense, I was ready to call it and just say, we tried, you're done. We took a brief break and brought in a couple extra support people, and kind of went off script, and which was important and positive. And by the end of it, all the kids begrudgingly had agreed to keep the peace. The second group was the one you wanted to videotape. I mean, that was like, before I could even finish the preamble, they were like, I just want to apologize and I want to go over and shake hands. And we're like, all right, our work is done here. Like, that was the ideal restorative circle that you have.
The first one was very, like you said, very intense. That's what's so important, to have a group of like colleagues, like people there to support, because there were times we had to take a little break, or we had a student say, okay, I need to take a breather, so one of us would step out and have them calm down. So it's, in order for it to have a good outcome, like, it's so important to have all that support with you to help with the students throughout the process.
This might seem like an odd detail, but we ran that first circle pretty immediately after school. And the big mistake that I made was scheduling it too close to the end of the school day. So what we ended up with was these 5 kids who were definitely still not over it, waiting for the staff to show up. So they're sitting in a waiting room, just staring and mad dogging each other, getting more and more angry. And then by the time we move into the main room where we're doing the restorative circle, they were already agitated. And so even the introductions didn't go well. One student, instead of introducing himself as, hi, my name is Bob Smith, he was like, he gave his street name, he's from Inglewood, and it was, immediately started down that road. And so, and a lot of it was simply a planning problem there, where the staff showed up later than we had anticipated, like 20 minutes later. And so it was a learning experience for all of us. Here's the good news. It's been 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something like that since that incident, and all the kids are still on campus. There's really been no resurrection of those hostilities. They see each other in the hallways every day, and we've made it far enough now that if something else happens, I can say it was probably unrelated to the initial incident.
Yes, exactly. And like interviewing them, like talking with them, like they had no motive to why they started fighting. They didn't know their names. But what Mr. Antonelli said, like today, maybe 4 or 5 of them were in the restroom earlier, and I was a little alert when I saw them down the hall. They went in like nothing. Like they just said hi to each other, and so the outcome at the end was very positive.
Yeah.
So
the big thing with the RP though is the work goes in before that final circle.
Yes.
And I would say we spent a combined 40 hours of prep time before Friday. And so, and if you don't put that time in, then the final circle is a roll of the dice, and it can go sideways on you. Even with all of that time, we were still like white knuckling that Friday meeting. It was intense. It was a little scary that it's not going to work, but so far I feel like we've gotten pretty lucky with it.
And then after after their suspension, like we had to also meet to figure out how their schedule was going to be. We're going to put them on independent studies, like who could be on campus during the same time.
Right.
So.
And they've all pretty much integrated back into the day. So it's that's been again, fingers crossed that stays calm. But they all seem to be in a better place. And yeah, so overall it seems like it was a win.
Yes.